Hey, I'm Chris.
I'm Andrew.
Mackenzie.
I'm Brittany.
Elizabeth.
And I'm Lindsay.
Let us be sure that those who come after will say of us in our time that in our time we did everything that could be done. We finished the race, we kept them free, we kept the faith. Ronald Reagan. In order to inform you more about Ronald Reagan, I use these sources to gather information. Quotes from Ronald Reagan were gathered at brainyquote.com. Educational background was gathered at biography.com. Family information was gathered at notablebiographies.com and archives.com. Notable contributions to society information was gathered at americanhistory.about.com. And concluding quote was gathered at quotationpage.com. Three main points that really affected Ronald Reagan and how he impacted the United States are his education, his family, and his notable contributions to society. Oh, and I'm Holly Kitten. I'm going to be introducing those to you. But there are advantages to being selected as president. The day after I was elected, I had my high school grades classified as secret. Ronald Reagan. Going into his education, in 1928 he graduated from Dixon High School in Dixon, Illinois. He was really involved in his high school. He was an athlete. He was student body president. He was really into theater, so his need for leadership really started young. In 1932, he graduated from Eureka College in Illinois. There he was also really involved in football. He ran track. He was on the swim team, and he also was in student council president in his college. His political education, he actually started out as a Democrat, and then throughout time his views became more conservative, and in the 1960s he officially became a Republican. In 1966 he ran for the governor of California and won by 51% votes. In 1980 he was nominated for president and obviously won. He was our 40th president, and at the age of 69 he was also the oldest president that we've ever had in U.S. history. All great change in America begins at the dinner table. Ronald Reagan. I feel like that's a good quote of how he feels about family. He was born February 6, 1911, to parents John Edward and Nellie Reagan. In 1940, he married actress Jane Wyman, and they were co-stars on a movie called Brother Rat. They had 3 kids together, Michael and Maureen, and the third child unfortunately died as an infant. He was the only president to ever be divorced, so that's another fun little fact about Ronald Reagan. His second marriage in 1952 was to Nancy Davis. They had 2 kids, Patty and Ronald. Nancy and President Reagan were married throughout his presidency and until he died. His kids, interestingly enough, had liberal views and were extremely outspoken about their liberal views in comparison to their dad's conservatism. I think the best president because he changed the whole mood of the country, the whole economy of the country, and stood up to communism that was continuing its causes around the world and backed them off and caused them to collapse was Ronald Reagan. That was said by Pat Boone. Notable contributions to society. 1937, he became an actor and made about 50 movies, so I think that we can all appreciate the entertainment part of that. He was also elected as the Screen Actors Guild's president. Reaganomics was one of his big policies that he introduced to the United States whenever he was the president, and that's whenever taxes were cut. Basically, inflation went down and underemployment went down also. It increased savings, spending, and investment. He also, probably his most notable contribution to society was that he broke up the USSR. He bonded with Soviet leader and caused the downfall. Each generation goes further than the generation preceding it because it stands on shoulders of that generation. You will have opportunities beyond anything ever known. Ronald Reagan. I think that Ronald Reagan really appreciates the fact that people are super outgoing in their life and really try hard to be proactive and doing things for the greater good. This is just a silly little picture of Ronald Reagan's humor. And the 3 main points, again, that really influenced his impact on the United States were his education, his family, notable contributions to society. Ronald Reagan's life and presidency is one that will always be remembered. Society is still reaping benefits from Reagan's actions during his presidency. He was an incredible leader in our country as the 40th president and was extremely successful in what he did. I know in my heart that man is good, but what is right will always eventually triumph, and there's purpose and worth to each and every life. And that was said again by Ronald Reagan. The end.